There is a lie hiding in plain sight, and it's baked into one of the most popular podcasts on earth. But this is not about Joe Rogan being bought out by the elites. It's much more simpler and insulting, actually. Joe Rogan is a fake stoner.
It's infotainment, you ignorant bitch.
Summer breeze.
Joe Rogan.
We coming for you, nigga.
Summer breeze.
At some point, probably in the Fear Factor days or the early podcast era, he probably smoked weed and was really a stoner. He was the curious, open-minded guy who just wanted to ask questions. But the man sitting in the Austin studio today, ranting about wokeness and cozying up to billionaires, that's not a stoner. That's a character, and I can prove it. Let me be clear. A stoner isn't just someone who ingests THC. It's a culture. It's a specific archetype that pop culture has recognized for decades. Think about the protagonists in Friday or Pineapple Express. They're not anti-intellectual. They can analyze situations just fine. But their moral compass points in a certain direction. They distrust authority. They side with the underdog. They wouldn't spend their time defending an obviously corrupt president or complaining about the people who don't tolerate bigotry. That's not open-mindedness. That's something else. Now, true stoners generally share a common ethical bedrock: radical receptiveness, suspicion of authoritarianism, support for personal freedoms, and a baseline respect for all people. That's the culture. That's the vibe. But Joe Rogan? Joe has become something else entirely. The first major flag was the move to Texas in 2020. Now look, leaving Los Angeles because of traffic and lockdowns is a personal choice. But ask yourself, does a real stoner move to Texas? A real card-carrying weed enthusiast doesn't just move to Texas. Texas has historically been a terrifying place to be a stoner. Possessing less than 2 ounces of weed is a Class B misdemeanor here. We're talking up to 180 days in jail and a $2,000 fine. If you have more than 4 ounces, you're looking at years in a state jail facility. The laws here are actively hostile to the very lifestyle Rogan claims to embody. A real stoner wouldn't move to a state most likely to lock them up for doing exactly that, unless you're not really a stoner anymore. Unless you've left that identity behind but still wear it as a costume.
Freedom is a different thing in Texas. They are not interested in controlling your...
What the fuck is you talking about?
What the fuck was that?
I'm sorry.
The real substance of this conspiracy is his political transformation. Now, let's look at Rogan. Back in the early podcast days, he was open about supporting progressive ideas. Universal health care, a woman's right to choose, a living wage. He talked about them like they were obvious, the kind of common sense stuff any kind of decent person would agree with. That's the Joe I believe was once real. That version of Rogan wasn't afraid to say the system was rigged and that working people deserved better. He sounded like someone who actually believed in something. That endorsement of progressive policies, that was real.
But I also don't think anybody should tell people that something that's completely legal to do for free is illegal to charge money for.
Yeah.
But by 2024, something had shifted. Hard. Between 2020 and 2023, his show featured a majority of conservative guests. By 2025, that number had jumped to nearly 80% conservative. He went from hanging out with the bro community to hosting the architects of the modern MAGA movement. He was leaning towards Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor who actively campaigned against marijuana legalization, then came to the full heel turn, endorsing Donald Trump on the eve of the 2024 election.
And it just came over the wires that Joe Rogan just endorsed me. Is that right? Thank you, Joe.
Thanks a lot, you idiot.
But the biggest tell of all is the aggression. Real stoners are mellow, empathetic. Studies suggest regular cannabis use correlates with increased empathy and patience. Yet, Rogan has gotten angrier. His recent Netflix special was called a painful throwback, filled with cringeworthy, outdated humor. He rails against wokeness with a frothing intensity. That's not a stoner. I don't know what that is. And what about his character? In 2022, a compilation showed Rogan using the N-word repeatedly, including a Planet of the Apes comparison.
Nigger. There should be a word like nigger, especially like the word nigger. That's our nigger.
Keep in mind, Rogan has a biracial adopted daughter.
Say it.
Nigger.
A genuine stoner would have said, "You're right, that was wrong. I apologize." And initially, Rogan did apologize. But as time went on, Rogan would call it a political hit job and insisted he has never been racist. He has offered no real reflection. That's not the stoner way. The stoner way is to say, "My bad, man," and actually mean it.
Right.
It's like, this is a political hit job. And
Yes.
so they're taking all this stuff that I've ever said that's wrong and smushing it all together.
Right.
Here's where the stoner receptiveness really falls apart. True stoners are intellectually humble. During the pandemic, he dismissed public health experts, and over 270 doctors signed a letter to Spotify, calling him a menace to public health. When Dr. Peter Hotez criticized him, Rogan responded to him with a $100,000 debate challenge. That is not the vibe. That's the total opposite of it, actually. So what is the conclusion? I believe he was a real stoner at some point, but at some point, the character took over. The move to Texas, the political realignment, the anger, the defensive non-apologies, the dismissal of experts, that is not the evolution of a stoner. That is the evolution of a brand. He traded the tie-dye for a suit of armor and forgot the most important rule. Respect the vibe, man. Joe killed the vibe completely. So what do you think? Do you think Joe Rogan is a real stoner? I mean, there's obviously proof that he does still smoke weed to this day, but that doesn't mean he's really smoking weed, if you know what I mean. Let me know what you think in the comments below.